Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our community who are involved in activities designed to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission and your host. The commission is a city board that seeks to promote equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guests today are Reginald Broddie, who is president and CEO of the Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Scholarship Trust, and Charles Butler, who is a rising senior at Seton Hall. Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
Okay. Reginald, I'm going to start with you. Could you tell us the story of the Scholarship Trust of Anne Arundel County and Annapolis?
Well, the trust actually started in 2000, and it was created based on a real need at the time when I was the director of the Boys and Girls Clubs. And at the time, we were having young people like Charlie graduating from high school at record rates. And many of those young people had a desire to go to college. And the only challenge that we had at the club, we didn't have any opportunity by way of funding to help those young people. That broke a lot of our hearts. So we began a process, talked with a young man, I'll call him a young man, but at that time, Crispin Etherington, who is our chairman of the board, and he was very concerned about it. And he started the trust with the commitment of making sure that we could raise money to send at least 4 kids to college each year. And they're not 1-year scholarships, they're 4-year scholarships. And the objective behind that was to make sure that we stay connected with them and guide them through the process. So that's a little bit of how it started, but we've evolved into what I think is a 21st century approach to making sure young people have an opportunity to be educated, both in the vocational area as well as going to college and universities.
Why is it important to focus on low-income, first-generation students?
Well, typically, we know that data show that the cycle of poverty doesn't change much without the impact of education. And you know, we know that through data, but we also know that through our interaction with our young people. It is not rocket science for anyone to understand that education is the key, not only for quality of life, but I think education is the key to also have an impact on young people or families that are coming behind you.
How many students have been served by the Scholarship Trust? And about how many awards do you make each year, and for how much money?
We have, I think, effectively, we've provided 32 scholarships currently to young people since 2000. But I think since 2000, about 32 scholarships. We give $800 per semester, and that is what ultimately a deal with the young person. If you meet the grade point average, you get your money, and that's very important. So we've one of the stats that I'm extremely excited about is the fact that nationally only 11% of first-generation students actually graduate. We have a 68% graduation rate. And Charlie can, and one of the things we're excited about is Charlie can talk about his next year and graduating, and Charlie will graduate. And it's a lot of it as a result of having mentors and folks to talk to and help you through the process, while most of the heavy lifting is done by him. But having someone to talk to is very key.
Mm-hmm. President Obama has set a goal to move the United States to the forefront in terms of being the leading producer of college graduates on a percentage basis in the world, and we're not there yet. How do you see a program like the Scholarship Trust fitting into that national objective?
Well, earlier I mentioned that we've taken what we call a 21st century approach to graduating our students.
Okay.
And the key to that is having someone guide them. If you were to have a scholarship in your name, we would also ask you to consider mentoring that child for 4 years. The goal behind it is to make sure that we address two things. One is to make sure that the young person is connected and have connections well before his or her senior year. The other is if we do that effectively, we're not having a lot of young people coming out with lots and lots of debt because they will come out of the gates connected and they'll fall into either internship or they'll fall into a job prior to them graduating. And we think that is an approach that is, again, 21st century, but it also is effective in the development of the student.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the debt issue is an extremely important one.
Yes.
You have, I guess, the latest statistics that have come out from the U.S. Department of Education that tracks this on a regular basis. Of those students who are graduating from college today, you've got something in the over 70% are graduating with some amount of indebtedness. And the average debt is around $25,000. Now that figure tends to be somewhat skewed by the numbers and the higher amounts of debt that students accumulate. But if you compare that to earlier generations of college students, it's really quite an enormous figure. Back when I went to college or you went to college, no one graduated with debt. And that largely reflects the cost of college education. College education is the fastest growing fastest growing in terms of inflation area of or segment of American society. It actually exceeds the amounts of cost increases in healthcare. And so for that reason, students are taking on debt. And it can be a real impediment to an individual starting out a career rather than getting a job and starting a family and buying a house. Suddenly students are faced with 5-figure indebtedness that they have to pay off. You can't escape that the cost of that debt. So I think it's very, very important that your program is focusing on that and helping students to look for other ways to finance their education and avoiding having to take out an inordinate amount of loans and engage in indebtedness. And it's, I think, very, very positive to hear that. Now, it's my understanding that the Scholarship Trust has a model which it calls a framework for success. Could you tell us about its components and it?
Yes, it's multifaceted in its approach. We really believe that through vocational opportunities for our young people, our scholarship opportunities, and we have a long-range plan to create what we think would be called trust centers, where young people can actually go to these centers and have full academic instruction. But we also believe that community service and mentoring is a major key to what we're going to do. That is the glue to all of our focus, is the mentoring and guidance and direction for our young people going forward. It's the key to it, because we know that by providing mentors who have essentially been there and done that, if you will, our young people will be given a real fighting chance to be successful. And so we're taking steps as we speak to improve upon those services. But every young people going forward who receive a scholarship from us, and even some young people who may not receive a scholarship, we have had open discussions to offer mentors for those young people as well, because we know it's very important.
Mm-hmm. The Scholarship Trust has a program with an international summer camp.
Yes.
Could you describe that for us?
Well, I'm smiling because I get excited about that.
Okay, great.
It is again, you've heard me say 21st century approach 1,000 times this morning, but it is just that. It is about exposure. And we know that by exposing our young people, you talk about changing the cycle of poverty. Our young people we send them to a school called Gordon's International School. It's in Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland. And they fellowship with over 3,000 kids from around the world. that in a sense gives them a high level of confidence the first day that they're on the campus. And Charlie was one of the young people that had an opportunity to go, and I'll let him talk a little bit about his experience. But what we do with that is create we eliminate the issue of the unknown. The world is much larger than the city of Annapolis. And our young people learn that within the first 5 days on the campus, because they're fellowshipping with kids from all over the country, all over the world, who are dealing with the very same issues that they're dealing with. Not to mention they're getting very, very high level academics and fun activities as well.
We're going to take a break now, but when we return, I'm going to be talking with Charles Butler about his experiences with the Scholarship Trust.
Hi, I'm Chris Burke, an actor who happens to have Down syndrome. Join me in watching some great stories about inspiring people with Down syndrome.
If somebody asks me what Down syndrome is, I tell them it's just an extra chromosome in your body and it just makes learning a little more difficult.
I just hope many people with Down syndrome can follow their dreams and the passion of what they love to do.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I think she has more abilities than I do. Just to emit this incredible love that everybody was drawn to.
I thought his story was amazing. I thought he needed to get out there to inspire other people.
My name is Annie.
I'm a Salem Broddie.
I'm Megan.
Serena. Chrissy Bates.
And this is my
Great story. My great story.
This is my great story. You can watch at ndss.org/stories.
I'm talking today with Reginald Broddie, the president and CEO of the Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Scholarship Trust, and Charles Butler, who is a rising senior at Seton Hall. Charles, I was a first-generation college student. I was the first member of my family to go to college. So I can relate to your experience. I know where you are with that. But for me, it's been a long time. I first entered college. It will be 50 years this September when I entered as a freshman at Ohio University. So my memory sort of gets a little foggy when you go over those numbers of years in terms of how I felt. But I'd like to ask, what does it mean to you to be the first member of your family to attend college, and why did you decide to pursue a college education?
I think it was very important that I attended college because I have younger family members. And it's such an example for them to let them know that it doesn't matter where you grow up, it's all about where you're going. So for my younger cousins and my nieces and nephew, it shows them that with mentors like Mr. Broddie and other people in the community, then the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm. What has the Scholarship Trust meant to you? What's it done for you? How has it made a difference in your life?
The Scholarship Trust has made a big difference in my life, not just financially, but as well as growing up as an individual. The $800 a semester is really useful because it typically covers books as well as any other expenses that I have. But the mentoring program has exposed me to a lot of connections. For example, I met Mr. Broddie, and I've had the chance to go to Scotland as a young man back in the 8th grade, I believe. So that was very important because it eliminated some of the cultural boundaries that were evident then. So when I got to campus as a freshman, I didn't really experience it as much as others because I already went over into another country. So it also has allowed me to meet other individuals who are connecting me with what I want to do after college, whether it be working in graphic design or coaching, because I'm currently a manager at Seton Hall. So I've had the chance to work basketball camps and things like that. So it's definitely been a huge help.
Okay, so in terms of where you see your goals are in life, the Scholarship Trust has given you a really, really big boost, especially through this mentorship program that you've described. Could you give an example, some examples of just ways in which it's helped you, that if you didn't have it, where you might have been?
For example, my trip to Scotland. If I had not taken that trip, I probably would have been a little shaken up my freshman year, which probably would have hindered my results as a manager as well, because we have international students on our team. So I was able to interact with them easier because of that experience. So I think the trip to Scotland was definitely a huge help in my development.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I don't think I had in fact, I didn't have the benefit of doing an international exchange program. But I think that from what you're saying, this has really had a big impact on you. Having a chance to interact with people from other countries, has it changed your outlook about the world and your own goals as a result of your being able to go to Scotland?
Yes, because growing up in the media, you see where everything is totally different than the United States. By interacting with those people from the other countries, you realize that you all have the same goals, and that's to be successful. So I think that's what brings different countries together, because you all want the same thing in life.
Excellent, excellent, Charles. Let me ask this question to you, Reginald. You know, Charles represents an excellent example of how your program has helped students. I'm sure there's others as well. Are there other stories that you have about students in the Scholarship Trust program that have been especially memorable for you that you would like to share with our viewers?
We have two in particular that I'm very proud of.
Okay, tell us about them.
William Hill also attended Scotland, and he's now a senior vice president at Wells Fargo. And a member, he's actually, I'm ashamed to say this, but no, I shouldn't be. He's the president of the board of the YMCA. So we kind of laugh about that, because I wanted him to be the president of the board of the Boys and Girls Clubs in New Jersey. The other is a young lady who has gone on, Shauna Williams. She's was with Northrop Grumman and now is with Lockheed Martin, and grew up in the Bywater community. And she designs systems for submarines, GPS systems for submarines. And so those are two individuals that I think of right off the top of my head that also just took on the challenge of going to college and not looking at it as a problem. They saw it as a challenge, and they took the challenge on and graduated and are doing very, very well. And there's so many more. We have some young people who are currently counterparts to Charlie, a young man at University of North Carolina. We have a young lady at Messiah College. We have a young man that I'm very, very proud of. I've known since he was 7 years old at Towson University playing football. So it goes on. And I think if you talk with them, their story is very similar to what Charlie is talking about. And it's about the opportunities to be able to be guided and mentored in a way that gives them a chance to be successful.
Mm-hmm. What do individuals have to do to apply for the program?
It's as simple as filling out an application. And going through an interview process of a panel that consists of panelists, and that's basically it. Okay.
What are the eligibility requirements?
Very basic. While we focus on first-generation students, we don't close the door on kids who qualify for the scholarship money. We're about getting the young people from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm. And based on what Charles said earlier, it's my understanding that you have really no restrictions per se in terms of how they use the money. Is that correct?
No, it's based on a need. It is. Oftentimes the need is for books, and you know, and quite frankly, sometimes the need is for clothing and other needed essentials that our kids just don't have going into college. And so the money can be used for those things.
Okay, and also based on what you've both said, but I want to make sure the audience remembers it, that the scholarship can be renewed from year to year, and they can have it for virtually their whole 4 years in college, or you know, however long they're there.
As long as they meet the 2.7 average, okay. And that's the deal and the partnership that we have in regards to relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's where the mentoring come in at. You know, oftentimes they will fall short of the 2.6. And we will set a plan and put a real working plan in place to get it up to the 2.7. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, that's a 21st century approach, because oftentimes a lot of our young people, they may get a 2.0 and have no idea of how to get up to the requirements. And when you have someone that's in your corner fighting for you, and they make it a we type of approach instead of being in college and being alone, it makes all the difference in the world.
From what sources do you derive your funding for the scholarship trust?
A lot of our funding is from private donors. We really encourage the citizens here in Annapolis to go to our website and look at what we're doing and invest in the student. We don't see it as a donation. We see it as an investment.
Mm-hmm. What aspects of this program, Reginald, have given you the greatest amount of personal satisfaction?
I think when I see the young person walk across the stage, you know, I'm looking forward to Charlie's graduation. I've known Charlie since he was 5 years old. And here now he's a grown man, and I've heard him talk about college and wanting to go, and now it's here, and it's within reach, and that's the greatest feeling for me, as a I guess as my love for kids and everything that I think that they potentially can reach, that's what get me excited, and I'm looking forward to going up to Seton Hall and seeing him graduate.
Well, you know, the thing that you mentioned earlier, I think it's important for the viewers to reflect on this, and that is that the graduation rates for students who are recipients of the scholarship trust activities are considerably higher than the graduation rates for other low-income first-generation students. You've actually looked at those statistics. That's very, very important, because one thing what we know in terms of higher education is that because of the availability of financial aid, the issue of access today is far less important than the issue of persistence, retention, and graduation. You know, if you look at breakdowns, for example, just within Maryland, of students who are entering college, you will find, and this is true nationally as well, that the percentage of individuals who are African American, Latino, white, Asian, in terms of actually entering college, is not much different than the percentage in the general population. That changes with graduation. That changes with graduation. African Americans and Latinos have considerably smaller success rates. Success in this kind, in this way I'm defining in terms of actually finishing their course of studies. Obviously it's a different measure when you're dealing with community college students, but it's very important in terms of four-year schools, whether you actually get that baccalaureate degree or not. And that's a simple statistic. I mean, we know that. And that's, you know, in terms of the program the president has put forward, is really going to have to, for it to be successful, they're going to have to increase the graduation rates for racial and ethnic minorities. And as we go forward, we're looking at the enrollment rates, and in terms of enrollments, in terms of numbers of enrollments, racial and ethnic minorities becoming larger and larger parts of the entering college pool, simply because the demographics of our society are changing. The upcoming class in high school, the entering classes in our high schools are public schools are going to be a majority minority, whites being a minority. That's not going to change. And so going forward, that pathway is going to be very important. Those students entering college right out of high school have an above average chance to graduate. And what I'm hearing you say is this is an essential part of your program. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's key, matter of fact. And we just think that the approach that we're using is basic and fundamental in terms of giving each student an opportunity to get a good education, both vocational and from a college and university perspective. It's having someone walk the path with them, and that's doesn't happen often. So we're excited about what we're doing, and we would hope that the residents of the city of Annapolis would support us largely on these things and become mentors. We're always looking for mentors. Also volunteer in special events or help us out in our selection process, sit on panels, and join the board and be a part of the experience, because it is just that. It's an experience that we know that on the back end, we're paying major contributions to the United States by giving these young people an opportunity to graduate.
Mm-hmm. Charles, I'm going to go back to you. What experiences have you had at your college that are especially memorable to you? All of us have had great memories of our college, and I'll tell you, it's going to stay with you. You're always going to remember them. It's a magical time of your life that'll never be repeated, that undergraduate experience. And I'm sure there's many things that are fresh in your mind. I could tell you some stories, but I'm not the focus of this interview. What things that during your college years have really been formative for you? Both things that are involved with a college trust or with a scholarship trust.
I think just the overall process has been a huge, flash to me. But as far as my actual experience on campus would probably be attending my first basketball game as a manager. Just all the bright lights and everything. And actually being a part of the team was a huge experience. So.
Yeah. Going back to you, Reginald, looking ahead, what vision do you have for the Scholarship Trust in terms of going forward?
Well, the long-term vision is beginning the process of implementing and putting in place in low-income communities our trust centers, where they'll be state-of-the-art. And again, it will be a place where young people can go as young as 6 years old to begin the process of changing the mindset that speaks to, it's not whether or not I'm going to college, it's which one I'm going to. Or it will be a place where young people can go who are not going to college to begin a process of looking at different vocations that will give them a chance to be successful. So that's a part of the vision. I think the other vision is to expand and offer more scholarships on a yearly basis. I envision, and it's really my hope, that we can offer 10 to 15 four-year scholarships a year. But it's going to take help. It's going to largely, the help is going to have to come from the folks here in the city of Annapolis to help us do that. But we know that we have the applicants that will apply. Now we have to match that intensity of the students with the funding. And I think we will go a long way with that.
Okay, with respect to that, I'm sure our viewers are going to be very interested in this, and you may have some folks out there say, gee, I'd like to contribute to that program, or I'd like to get involved with it in some way. How can folks get in touch with you and with the Scholarship Trust?
Well, they can call me on my cell phone at 301-758-2939.
Can you repeat that?
301-758-2939, and they can also go to our website. It's the Annapolis Trust.org, And all the information is there. They can reach Linda Monday by way of our website, and she can help you through the process. We have an exciting opportunity for individuals to have their own naming scholarships. So you could do it that way, but there's also opportunities to, again, join the board and be a part of the experience.
Okay, so that website was, again, AnnapolisTrust.org. www.AnnapolisTrust.org.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for viewing our program today, and please join us again on Annapolis Mosaics. If you would like more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, please jot down the information on your screen. You can reach us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. Or check out our page at the City of Annapolis website. Go to www.annapolis.gov, click on City Government, then Boards and Commissions, and you can scroll down to the Human Relations Commission page. And always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We have flown the skies like birds and swum the seas like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth as brothers and sisters."